It was due to altercations between both sets of players. So that's all your full-time soccer scores here on Highland Sunday Sport. Returning our attention now to athletics, and I'm delighted to say I've got Brendan McDaid of Letterkenny AC in studio. Brendan, as always, you're welcome to Highland.
Thank you very much, Oisin.
And Brendan, we're going to talk about the 50th celebrations in just a moment, and maybe recap over the last 50 years and what the standout, the highlights was for the club. But you had your annual turkey trot earlier today in Letterkenny. A fine morning for running, first of all.
It was indeed, Oisin. Perfect conditions. A little bit cold, but no breeze and good conditions for PBs and good runs.
Yeah.
We were delighted. We had over 60 turned out for it. The unique thing of the turkey trot, of course, is that people predict their time before they run, and then whoever's the closest to their prediction sort of wins the turkeys. Yeah. So it's not even the people that first cross the line. Anybody anywhere in the field can win this event.
Yeah. So, like Owen McGinley, he was the fastest man today. Wasn't too far off his prediction. You might just give us maybe a handful of the names who performed well today there, Brendan.
Yeah, well, in terms of predictions, we had two on just 1 second out. Claire McGuigan from Liverpool, she had predicted 17:45 and actually ran 17:46. And her own chairman, Raymond Birch, who had predicted 16:43 and ran 16:44. And then the third, I suppose, in the race in terms of times was Michael Harkin, who had predicted 18:01 and ran 17:59. So unless you were within 9 seconds actually of your prediction, you didn't get a turkey.
Yeah. Okay, anyway, some people got the turkey and they'll be all sorted for Christmas. So 50th celebrations is taking place next weekend, Brendan. I know a lot about Letterkenny AC with my father Charlie been involved, but if you go back 50 years, back to the early 70s, how did Letterkenny AC all come about?
Yeah, well, I suppose from memories of talking to people that was involved at that time, there was meetings held in December 71, some senior athletes like JB Doherty and Michael Crampsey, who had sort of formed a little committee. And then in early 72, there was people like Eddie Gibson, Brother Austin, and that got together more or less with juvenile end of it. And I think formally in around March, April of 72, the club registered with Ulster Athletics and with the BLOE at the time, the Irish Athletics. So the club went from strength to strength from there on.
Yeah, 50 years, half a decade, or 50 years and a long time for a club, and a lot has happened, obviously, Brendan. But maybe some of the standout moments and some of the standout athletes that had Letterkenny right up there.
Yeah, with quite a number. I mean, even team wise, which I suppose clubs always look at. Our men's team around, I think it was 1998 that they won the short course cross country up in Dublin, up in Alsa. And more recent times then, our women's cross country team in 2021 won the national senior title, and we're second this year in it. And both in case now they go to represent Ireland at the European clubs, which is a great milestone for the club. Again, back in the early 2000s, we had marathon teams comprising of Gary Crossan and Porry McKinney were always to the fore in the marathon running. And they were usually joined by the likes of Marty Gormley or Niall McGee to make up a team-wise, and would have won that national title on a number of occasions. I suppose the other highlight down through the year would have been our National League teams. We fielded both men and women for quite a number of years, and managed to get up to third in that track and field league, which was a great achievement for the club. And again, we're delighted Teresa McDaid has represented the club, as team manager now to a number of Irish teams at Olympics and World Championships, and indeed there's a team off now to Turin in Italy next Sunday. Again, Teresa will be to the fore of that with the Irish women's team in it. I suppose individually, ones that come to mind like Katrina Jennings, who went to the Olympics in London, but in more recent times for the club has gone on to the ultra running and won world medals at the 100k and European first at the 50k, and holds Irish records now for that distance. And I mean, if you go back through the young ones like Mark English came through the club and would have went to World Juniors and World Seniors, and obviously on the bigger events like Olympics again. Darren McBurdy represented the club at European Cross Country, the World Junior, In the European indoors. We had Rory Finnegan that went to World Youths, got a first at that level at World Youths, which is great. Also went on into junior and European indoors. Danny Mooney, who went to the Commonwealth Games with Northern Ireland and also represented Ireland at the European indoors in the 1500. And of course, even now at the moment, Anne-Marie McGlynn, who's going to Turin as part of the Irish team next weekend. This might be her third, I think, European cross-country. And she would have won a bronze with the Irish team at one of those European cross-countries. And of course, going way back, the likes of Danny McDaid, who's come through the club and has gone to 2 Olympics, been silver medal team winning performance in Limerick at the World Cross Country, and many other internationals that Danny has gone on. You would have had Gary Crossan going to the World Student Games. Christopher Johnson also went to the European Under-23s. So there's been a host of members that have come through the club and went on to great things in athletics.
Yeah, and clubs strive to have athletes at the top of their sport. But for Letterkenny, who brought 3 athletes through, three Olympians, which was tremendous for a club. A lot of club would hope just to have 1, but Letterkenny had 3 come through the club.
Yeah, it's fantastic for the club to get that sort of achievement. To bring them up from, especially from the younger age, the likes of Mark English that would have started as a junior, just training with the juveniles, and indeed Joe, his father, would have helped coach him and done a lot of multi events with I think Studemark in the later years. And the likes of the Darren McBurdy's and Danny Mooney and Rory Finnegan that come up through that juvenile ranks and bring them all the way to international level is a great credit to the club.
Yeah, and back when Danny McDaid was at the Olympics and when he was to the fore of Irish running, it was a very, very good period for Letterkenny AC. So it was, having Danny at the front and to the fore of that.
Oh, it was, and Danny would have led then many of senior teams at Ulster and national level to cross-country success as well. When you have somebody of that stature leading out the team, I think it inspires others.
Yeah. And how's the club going at the moment? Obviously, juveniles, it's like the football, it's the grassroots stuff. That's where the building blocks start, and that's where you can see if there's any real potential in some of these young athletes and can continue this for Letterkenny. How's it going at the moment, Brendan?
Yeah, the club is very strong at the moment. Numbers are very high. There is a squad away in Cork at the moment. The juvenile cross-country is on in Cork, and what we'd like to see there is athletes actually making that level, even if they don't get medals, at this young age. It inspires them to keep going and maybe then achieve at senior level. I always think the great success for a club is to try and keep them that transition from juvenile right into junior and then on to senior. That's the real task for every club.
Yeah. The girls actually finished 4th today in under 15 girls, and it wasn't a bad day for the team.
No, that's why I say I like them to see just in and around there and making that qualification.
Yeah. So what's the plans then for next weekend, celebrating the big 50?
Yeah, we have an anniversary 50 years in the Radisson Blue next Saturday the 10th. There'll be drinks reception from 6:45 and then with the main meal at 7:30. There'll be a lot of interviews with past members, a lot of old photographs from over the last 50 years, and some messages from other sort of key people within athletics, just to sort of recount what has gone on over the last 50 years.
Yeah, so there'll be a good feeling then in the build up to this. There's a good feel around the club at the minute, is there?
There's a good feeling and a big demand on tickets, and we're delighted to see some sort of previous members looking to come along and enjoy the evening.
Yeah. Okay, well listen, Brendan, thanks for coming in, and we wish you every success for your 50th next weekend.
Thanks very much, Oisin.
That's Brendan McDaid of Letterkenny Athletic Club, talking about 50 years of LAC. Thanks for coming in, Brendan. We're going to go for a quick commercial break. When we come back, we've got horse racing and Dylan Brown McMonigal.
Sport on Highland is brought